Good Chodesh to everybody. A good Erev Shabbos. Here we are. Erev Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Parshas Shoftim. Elul is here, and that means it's time to start thinking and contemplating, considering how we can better prepare for the Yom Hadin. There's nobody at all who doesn't want to make amends, correct their ways, be better, and have certain goals that Be'ezrat Hashem will be even greater, bigger, larger than the coming year. But we all wonder and think, what can I do this Elul? What can I do to better serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And how can I better prepare for the Yom Hadin? There's so many ideas, thoughts, eitzos, tachbulos that we all have, trying to make sure that we take advantage of the next 30 days. 4 weeks from tomorrow night is Rosh Hashanah. We all want to be better. We all want to do what's correct and what's right. What should we do this Elul? We often hear ideas, thoughts, considerations, but what can I do? What can I do to make sure that I can do things better? Many of the Bali Musar and the Hasidic Sfarim talk about the opening pasuk in this week's Parshas Shoftim as an eitzah, as a suggestion. Shoftim v'shotrim titin lecha b'chol she'arecha asher Hashem lokecha nosin lecha. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, establish judges, officers upon you. Because when we set up the country, when we set up the land of Eretz Yisrael, there needs to be a system of law and order. But the Meforshim note that grammatically the pasuk doesn't read. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha. Shoftim v'shotrim is in the plural. Lecha is in the singular. The pasuk should read Shoftim v'shotrim titen lachem b'chol she'arecha. You should set up judges and officers for all of you in the land of Israel. Why shotrim v'shotrim titen lecha in the singular? And as I mentioned, the Sfas Emes, Rabbi Yerucham Amir and Daras Torah, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Darish Moshe note that the lecha can be explained homiletically to mean that if a person wants to succeed, shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, every person has to set up a system of checks and balances. Every person has to set up their own officers, their own judges over them, in order to succeed, in order to thrive, survive, to maintain equilibrium and to grow. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, because nobody knows himself or herself better than me, myself, and I. If I want to be successful at this Elul, nobody can tell me what to do. I need to tell myself. I need to set up my own officers. I need to set up my own system, my own checks and balances, my own way to set up and to observe, to contemplate and to organize. Nobody, no shir, no rav, no rebbe at the end of the day can tell you what to do and how to do it. It's lecha. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, because every person knows themselves what needs to be fixed, what needs to be corrected, what are areas of strength and areas of weakness. Bein adam l'makom, bein adam l'chaver, mitzvos aseh, mitzvos lo aseh, orechaim yoredea. I know myself better than anybody. And at the end of the day, shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, I have to establish for myself those shoftim and those shotrim, those officers and those judges over myself. There is a well-known doctor about 80 years ago, 100 years ago, close to it. Dr. Wallach was his name, a well-known doctor in Yerushalayim in Eretz Yisrael, who's very mekurav by the Gedolei Yisrael. Many of the greatest Rabbanim and Gedolim used to speak to Dr. Wallach, a wise, thoughtful, very, very well-known doctor. He approached Rab Yosef Chaim Zenefeld, known as the Marad Arad Yisrael, who was the Rav of Yerushalayim in the old Yishuv. And he asked Rav Yosef Chaim, what's the meaning of the Maimer Chazal? It's a Mishnah in Meseches Kiddushin Daf Pei Beis. Tov shebarofim lebegehenim. The best of the doctors will go to Gehenna. That was the question that Dr. Wallach himself asked Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. And Rabbi Yosef Chaim said, I can't explain that to you. Only you know. You're a doctor. You see patients. You work with people. You'll know what that chazal means. Tov shebarofim legehenim. Because you're a doctor. This is your business. You see patients. You're involved in the science. You're involved in medicine. You're involved in the drugs. You understand this business better than anybody. Thus, you can explain to me, said Rabbi Yosef Chaim to Dr. Wallach, what it means, Tov shebarofim legehenim. That's what the pshat in Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sharecha. As Elul is here and Elul is upon us, when we want to figure out what to do, how to prepare, how this year can be better than the next, It only can come from us. We need to think about it. We'll all read and we'll hear Lashon Hara, Shmira Shabbos, Tefillah, Talmud Torah. Those colloquially are all wonderful, and those are certainly areas that require strengthening and chizuk. But at the end of the day, it needs to be tailor-made for me. I need to figure out what it is that I have to work on. The shofet and the shoter are things that I have to establish. It's an unbelievable Gemara, Maseches Bava Metzia, that Pehei Mabei is quoting the Gemara, the pasuk in Yirmiyah, Perek Tes, Mi ha'ish hachacham, v'yavin ezos. Who is the wise man who knows this? And the Gemara says, V'yagidu al ma'av ha'aretz, that Yirmiyahu says, I will know and understand why was it that the land of Eretz Yisrael was destroyed, Churban Bayis Rishon. Why did it happen? The Gemara says, Amru chachamim v'lo pirshua. The Chachamim, the wisest, the Torah scholars were asked this question: why was the land of Israel destroyed during Bayis Rishon? The Chachamim, they couldn't understand, they couldn't explain, they couldn't elucidate. Amru Nevi'im v'lo pirshua. The prophets, those who had Nevuah, tried to explain why the land of Eretz Yisrael was destroyed, why the Churban Bayis Rishon happened. V'lo pirshua, they couldn't explain it. Until HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, B'chvodo v'atzmo, explained why Eretz Yisrael, Churban Bayis Rishon occurred. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Al asher azavtem es torasi. You left my Torah, that the Gemara explains, Shelo birchu b'Torah tchila. They didn't make birchos of Torah properly. That's a discussion in and of itself. But asks Reb Elimelech Biderman, and many Mefarshim ask, I don't understand. If the Chachamim couldn't explain, if the Nevi'im couldn't explain, how could Klal Yisrael be held accountable? And why was the Beis HaMikdash in Eretz Yisrael destroyed? If the Nevi'im couldn't tell them, if the Chachamim couldn't tell them, and they needed a Kadosh Baruch Hu to tell them, Al Ma'av Ha'aretz, why was the land of Eretz Yisrael destroyed? How could Bnei Yisrael be held accountable? Why was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Why was the land of Eretz Yisrael found ransacked? What did we do wrong? The Chachamim couldn't explain. The Nevi'im couldn't explain. Says Reb Elimelech Biderman, one of the great Magidim today, that yes, it's true. There are things that a Chacham and Chachamim don't understand. There are things that a Navi and Nevi'im don't understand. I know by myself what I did wrong. I know where I have to make corrections. I know the mistakes that I made. I know my areas of weakness. I know my areas of strength better than anybody else. So even though the Nevi'im and the Chachamim couldn't explain it, at the end of the day, the Beis HaMikdash in Eretz Yisrael was destroyed because I didn't do what I had to do. I didn't fix, I didn't correct, I didn't make amends in areas that I knew I had to make amends in areas that I needed to do tshuva in. So it's true that Chachamim and the Nevi'im didn't know things that I myself knew. And thus each and every Jew was held accountable for Churban Bayis Rishon, for Aveidas Ha'aretz, because I didn't do anything about it. And it's not the Nevi'im's fault. It's not the Chachamim's fault. I have to fix. I have to correct things, and I have to look at myself and my own life and try to discover, uncover, and observe and contemplate those particular areas. The Mashgiach, Rabbi Yerucham Mimir, the pre-war Mashgiach in the Mir Yeshiva, is quoted by his student, the outstanding Rabbi Shlomo Volbe, in the Sefer Adam B'Yikar, who said that the best commentary on the Torah, HaMefaresh Hachi Muvchar ala Torah, Hu Ha'adam Atzmo. Every single person knows that they are the greatest commentary on the Torah. That means not Rashi, not the Ramban, not the Ibn Ezra, not the Balaturim, not the Chassam Sofer, not the Netziv, not the Sfas Emes. The best commentary, the best way to understand the pasuk is me, myself, and I, looking at the pasuk, understanding the pasuk from my background, from my bend, from my own life. I have the best way to observe and analyze a pasuk like nobody else. Not only is this true when it comes to Perush ala Torah, it's true in Perush Achayim in my life. Not a Navi, not a Chacham, not a Rav, and not a Rebbe could tell me the areas that require perfection and the areas that require fixing. It's me, myself, and I. That's the one who can do it. For some it might be Shmira Shabbos. For others it might be areas of kashrus. For some it might be Ben Adam L'Makom. For some it might be Ben Adam L'Chavero. All analysis, a full picture has to be thoroughly investigated throughout Elul. And that's what we're here to do during the month of Elul. Bishol Salanter once commented that the common custom during the month of Elul, and certainly during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, is to learn Rabbeinu Yonah Sefer, Sharei Tshuva. And most people understand that the reason to do that is because Rabbeinu Yonah speaks about Tshuva, which is the mitzvah, the call of the day. That's what we're supposed to be preparing for, to do and to be Mekayim mitzvahs Tshuva and mitzvahs Vidui. But says Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, that's not really the reason we learn Sharei Tshuva. Because if you look in Shar Gimel of Sharei Tshuva, Rabbeinu Yonah goes through all of the mitzvahs of the Torah, Aseh and Los Aseh. And says Rabbi Yisrael Salanta that a person should go through all the Taryag mitzvahs and contemplate, consider, and think, what's a mitzvah that needs work? What's an area that I need to do improvement in? What's an area that I'm strong in? That's why we learn the Sefer Sharei Tshuva, because it goes through all of the mitzvahs, all Taryag, and we could come up with ways to improve and to think, what's an area that needs strengthening? The Pasuk says in Yeshaya, Hanosein Bayam Derech, that a path is given in the sea. And the Arizal explained that Pasuk is a reference to Chodesh Elul. But what does that mean? Hanosein Bayam Derech. Again, Rabbi Elimelech Biderman explains that through the way to traverse a sea is not one. There are multiple ways to cross a sea. There's one type of ship, there's another type of ship. There are different methodologies, there are different ways, there are different routes to take to cross the sea. That's Chodesh Elul. There are different ways because there are different personalities and there are different people that have to try to figure out how to traverse and how to manage and how to get through Chodesh Elul in a most successful way. Just like you go through the sea in multiple ways, that one ship goes one way and another ship goes another way. And different captains and different people have different ways of crossing the great big blue sea. So to Chodesh Elul, it's up to every single individual to search, to look, and to be pensive and thoughtful. What's an area that I could work in? And I'm giving you, and I'm giving all of us a lot of hard work. This is not simple, because there's no one answer fits all. It's not a simple square box, and it's not an easy circle. Every person, like we discussed last week, has their own avoda, their own personalized avoda in Chodesh Elul and through Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Yemei Tshuva, and Yom Kippur. It's not like Sukkot, it's not like Pesach, it's not like Shavuos, where there's a mitzvah that we all do the same. No, not here. There's a mitzvah of tshuva. There's a mitzvah of investigation. There's a mitzvah here to be thoughtful and talk and consider what's the best way that I can do things better, differently this year. Shoftim v'shotrin titin lecha. We need to establish our own officers, our own judges. Hanosen bayom derech. We have to cross the sea our own particular way. That's exactly what the Nevi'im, the Chachamim couldn't explain, because I have to figure out myself how to do it. Thus, we have a tall order ahead of us, but it's an exciting, invigorating order, because we have the opportunity now to come up for many, many different ways to make ourselves better people, to make ourselves stronger people, people who can create, who can build, who can set up and successfully be able to make tough, shin, pei, aleph, the best year ever. And throughout the next 30 days that we have today's Rosh Chodesh, we have the opportunity to start thinking, is it an area of Shabbos, is it Kashrus, is it an area of Ben Adon L'Makam Ben Adon? What's one area that I want to improve? What's one area that I want to succeed in more? What's that area? Look into yourself. Think. You know. Nobody can tell you. Nobody knows better than you. Sit down. Think. Take a paper and a pen. Start writing. Thinking. Ask a spouse. Ask a friend. Ask your child. But those who know you, they'll know and they'll understand. But only you can be the person to consider what it is that I could do better. Wishing all of us hatzlach in our mission this coming Elul, a Chodesh Tov, a good Chodesh to everybody, and a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos ahead. Good Shabbos.